I have an apron on. I'm a baker, a blessed and happy baker. Do you ever feel like no one pays attention to you? For the longest time, I felt invincible, like no one saw me for me. No one cared about what was really going on with me, how I felt, what I wanted, what made me happy. You're supposed to go with the flow of life, do what society says, what my family expected of me. Go to school, get a job, but it's really, get the job I want you to get because I gave birth to you. Get married, pop kids out, and now this is the silent part. Live in misery for the rest of your life, and of course repeat the cycle with your kids. This was the norm growing up for many of us. And then in one moment, it felt like the Holy Spirit gave me a sound slap, interpreting, my friend, will you wake up? Wake up! Is this why you're here? Sulking and feeling sad for your life? Who are you connected to? Am I your source? Or am I just a speck of nothingness to you? A little backstory. I've always been passionate about baking, a hobby I picked up as a child while watching my mother prepare pastries for family gatherings. And one day, after a particularly stressful week where nothing seemed to be going right, I decided to bake a cake for my friend's birthday. As I mixed the ingredients and felt the rhythm of my hands creating something from scratch, I found solace in that process. The cake turned out perfect, and my friend couldn't stop praising me. That simple moment of joy and connection sparked an idea. What if I turned this hobby into something more? I toyed with the idea of starting a small online bakery, but almost immediately, doubts crept in. Was this even worth pursuing when everyone around me expected me to focus on a more traditional career? A few days later, during a family dinner, I casually mentioned my baking idea. The room went quiet. Then my aunt laughed and said, "Baking? Why would you waste your time on that? You should be focusing on something that can actually secure your future." I wanted to respond with, "Oh, I'm wasting my time. How about we focus on your children and their series of failure?" But I didn't. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel the sting of their disapproval. Instead, a deep sense of clarity washed over me. I can't explain it, but it was beautiful. It wasn't about them. It wasn't about their opinions, or even the societal pressures of what success should look like. I realized that happiness wasn't found in validation from others, but in doing what made me feel fulfilled and alive. As I cleaned up the dishes later that night, I looked out the kitchen window, like in the movies. I smiled and whispered to myself, I will love the life I was created to live. From that moment on, I committed to building my bakery on my terms, following my passion unapologetically without letting the noise of others drown out my inner voice. It was not easy. Many times I wanted to quit. I feel like I lost friends whose lifestyles I couldn't keep up with any longer. Distance created a huge life gap between us. My decision wasn't just about baking. It was about embracing the freedom to live authentically without the constant need to seek approval from the outside world. I've realized over the years, it's not about me or you or society or what we all think. It's about how God sees us, how much He loves us, and how much He wants us to be happy. That's the fact, no matter if people argue about the truth of that. The fact doesn't compare with truth or lies. It simply is what it is, the fact. That moment in the kitchen, that's when I said, fuck it. I'm going to do what makes me happy and live the life God created me to live. Best decision I ever made. I was always feeling sorry for myself. For what reason? I wanted people to see me for me when I didn't even fully know myself. If you're hearing my story and you're still constantly seeking validation from the outside world, please stop it. I know this might sound like a cliche, but find you and what makes you happy and connect to the ultimate source, Jesus. Thank you so much for sharing your story. God bless you. This is Short Stories with Lola. Thank you for watching and sharing.